Hello, and welcome to Friday with the Chakontas. I am Mr. Chakonta,
And I'm Mrs. Chakonta.
and we are back with another episode of FWT Reacts.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in and thank you so much for joining us. If you are new, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, a returning listener, welcome again. And thank you so much for supporting us and listening to our podcasts. If you're yet to subscribe, whether you're, a returning viewer, returning listener, please do subscribe. And if you're new, please have a listen. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up and please do subscribe as well.
Yeah.
So
we're also on other platforms, so Spotify, Apple, what else?
Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
And Facebook,
so you can follow us on those.
Yeah, but exclusive ones every Friday on YouTube. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so
what do you have for us today?
I've got an interesting one, something a bit different. It goes like this. I need some advice concerning this matter. Me and my wife just quarreled because her mother asked for our only daughter, who is 2.5, to sleep at her place. And I said no, because I was not too comfortable with the idea. My wife is an only daughter and the mother is single with no husband or boyfriend. We give her all the time she wants alone with our child, but she just seems obsessed with having her alone for a sleepover, and my thought doesn't sit well with the idea. Her reason is she wants to bond more and she was very close with her own grandmother, blah, blah, blah. But this woman has been very manipulative in me and her daughter's relationship in the past because they're abnormally close. Although she has piped down a bit, I just don't want to create an opening for her to start that with my own daughter, because why would she insist for an all night? What is wrong with spending time during the daytime? What's so special about nighttime? Is it just to be able to have total control? Anyway, I'll appreciate your feedback and advice. Well, if anyone here has experienced such before and I don't want to come out looking like I'm overreacting, thanks in advance.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
No, thank you.
No,
you go ahead, Mr. Chakonta.
I always start, so
yes,
you can start.
it makes sense for you to start. You know where to start, and I find it easier to follow your train of thought.
I think both sides. Okay, I don't know where to start, to be honest, because there's nothing wrong for him deciding and saying, as a family policy, we don't sleep at other people's houses. But then the question is she just other people? That's the other question now you have to ask. And I think sometimes I understand where he's coming from, especially on the side of where when a mother and the daughter are close to the point of where the daughter does not understand the authority that she's in, it's very easy for the mother to have a very big voice in the way things are being run in your own marriage. And with that can bring a lot of arguments in a relationship because, I think the mother probably does not understand that the new relationship that this daughter has gone into demands that she is under authority over this this marriage, as in she's under authority over her husband is now ahead, if we're looking at it from a biblical context. And because of that, if she's a single mother, she was the head. Now her trying to pipe down or calm down, it becomes very hard for her because maybe the relationship is just, this is how we are and what's wrong with it. And I think sometimes the way women live or before they were married, it doesn't automatically mean that it will be the same when they get married. And I think that's why the issue of living and cleaving is something that needs to be emphasized. And I think it needs to be explained not only to the ones who are getting married, but also to their extended families, because what does that mean to them? Yeah, I'll just end there, and I just want you to add a little bit or rebuttal on what I said.
No, I see exactly where you're coming from in that sense. And I think that is kind of come out really has come out a lot for me in this story.
Yeah.
I think that the way it reads is like because of his relationship with his mother-in-law, he's now somehow also weary of the relationship with of the relationship she has with his daughter, and perhaps a bit maybe on the extreme side might not be allowing his daughter to, well, he is allowing her to form a relationship, but he's extra cautious or over, like he said at the end, am I overreacting? I do think that there's an element of overreaction because he's given us the reasons for why he doesn't want her, the granddaughter, to go and spend the night. And I think it's that fear of the manipulation which he's experienced before in his relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's the root cause. And in one way, I think it means that needs to be dealt with. But at the same time, I think that he is extending that to the granddaughter or to his daughter, which could create more tension or make it even, like, and to be fair, in my head, I'm like, most people love, given that this is the grandmother, this is somebody who in the majority of cases, they are safe. So even, there's no concerns about, maybe the child being, there being other men or other women who might do anything to the child or put the child in danger. And it sounds like the grandmother absolutely loves this child and wouldn't intentionally allow anything to come to her. Most people would grab onto that opportunity. I can imagine myself trying to grab onto that opportunity of having a free night and saying, go. Yeah, even 2 nights. School holiday, yes, spend a week there. So
go ahead.
So I think that because of that relationship, maybe he's not able to fully embrace the positivity of the fact that she's so involved and wants to be the grandmother wants to be involved in the daughter's life. So he's then missing out on quite a free babysitter. And then you're disagreeing. Yes, you're missing out on free babysitter. Well, that's my opinion. I think, most parents would love to give their child up for the night, knowing that they can sleep a sleepless night without worrying that their child has gone somewhere safe. And if, it's a 2.5-year-old, sounds like a nice opportunity to have some me time with your wife, every weekend, once a week or whatever plan you put in place. But I think the reason that he's saying no is more because of the control and worrying about how much influence she will have on the daughter's life. But I think although I've said all of that, I think it's not something that the conclusion should be, oh no, don't go.
Yeah.
But because you might be missing a great opportunity, or maybe you never know the time where you really will need her. Let's say your wife is having another child, or your wife is unwell, or you're both unwell, but you need somebody to help overnight. And it's like, oh, now it works for you. Now you want help. So I think that there are times I think he needs to really have that open conversation with his wife about his concerns, and for them to figure out how do they address this, how do they ensure, because some mothers can be too much, and she might be too much. She might have been too much with the daughter, and then now he's like, oh, I've just had to deal with you and your daughter. I don't want to have to be competing with my daughter. Like there's 3 parents when there's 2. There is a role for a grandparent, and there is my role as the father. So I don't know. I think there's a lot. I think those are my initial thoughts. I feel like he's projecting, and as a result, he's overreacting, but it's not without good ground. I think there is a good reason for his overreaction, but it just means it needs to be dealt with. And maybe they need to look at, ways where if they see her being manipulative or doing things that he doesn't like, to be able to freely speak to her, because if she spends the whole day, she can still have control over your, a lot of the time with her, even during the day. Because at night, really, they're sleeping. It's just probably nice for her to have some company, or they doesn't like the idea of dropping her off and all of that. But anyway, I've spoken enough. But those are where my thoughts are going.
I don't think he's overreacting. There's a level of where I think, as I said, living and cleaving is something that needs to be understood. And I think maybe on the side of where, like, as men, I may be wrong, but as men, I'll probably say, like, there's a level of where you want to have control on how you run your household. Anybody who comes into that household can either be a disruptor or a threat to the progress of what you're trying to build in that household. It can be even people who you love closely can be a disrupting aspect in the way you raise your kids. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, the grandmother is not a believer, and she's very loose in how she raises, the way she does certain things with the child. Are you going to be comfortable with that? If the father is saying, look, we've got biblical principles of how we raise our child, and this is how we do certain things on a biblical principle. And let me not even go on the aspects of even being a believer. Just, you've got a method of how, what's this? Like, let's say, for example, you don't allow your child to have screen time. So how is now that situation of saying, if you're on this other side of the grandmother, she's basically saying, I also have a different method of how I am going to interact with my child. And then instead of, especially if you have that threat of, she is not abiding towards, this is how we raise our child, and even when she comes into my home, I'm going to respect the way I'm going to raise you is like you were at home. It now becomes an aspect of, if you're here, you can do whatever you have to do here. Then that becomes another angle of where the child does not know how to navigate with the authority that she's been placed in, which is the home where of her mother and father. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're making sense, and I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's the current issue. I think if the issue was the fact that I don't feel comfortable with my daughter going to her grandparents' house because, I don't like what they watch on TV. I don't like the language. I don't think, they're not Christians, or they don't have the same values that I want my child to grow up with.
Yeah.
I agree that something has to be done, and I can see why he would say no. Because the thing is, he's still allowing her to spend time during the day. So even with that, it's about, in this scenario, he doesn't seem concerned about the impact or how her parenting might be impacting on the child.
Yeah.
His main concern is fear of potential control. It doesn't based on what he has seen with his wife, which, because of history, suggests that they could be that and how close they are, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it 100% will be the case. So I think for him, he's basing his decision on fear rather than on fear and past experience, which past experience is legit. And ultimately, he has the right to say no. And I think, so I don't disagree with that. I just think it's creating it's creating tension, but that tension needs to be discussed. So it's going to be creating tension because the wife probably is like, we don't know what the wife's view is. Let's just say she's happy for her daughter to go to her mother's house, and the mother's clearly wants her to sleep over. So it creates tension because it's like, okay, what do you think I'm going to do to her at night? Why don't you want? And fair enough, if you're going to say no, you better be comfortable to explain your reasons also. But I think that in this scenario, his ground, he needs, I think fear is just going to prevent, this is what I'm saying, because of fear, he's probably missing out on a free babysitter. and free time. And you know what? Sometimes, let's just be honest, yeah, this man might be saying no, but he doesn't even do anything in the house when it comes to the child.
Yeah,
and all the work lands on the woman because I know
I understand where you're coming from, but on those situations, I do understand where you're coming from. That's another topic.
But we don't know fully in this scenario. But let's just say he's not even hands on. He doesn't even help. The wife is swamped. And actually, a sleepover. No, babe, I'm still on it.
No, but regardless of what you're saying, I understand where you're coming from. That does not give the right for the wife to now say, I'm swamped, I'm doing A, B, C, D. You are not participating. And when now you come and give a suggestion, I would just automatically ignore it or...
Excuse me.
Because I feel like I'm the one who's most invested in the child. No,
that's not what I'm saying.
But also on the other side, I'm saying either right or wrong. And I think this is a place where I think we need to also understand either right or wrong. There's a certain aspect of, because that child is your child. If you're going to raise that child in the wrong way, that's your prerogative between you and God. And yeah, because that's the mandate that God has given you. Because that is your child. And there will be consequences towards that. And I think the consequences not only come to the point of where it also trickles down into society, but that is your prerogative as the parent. And because of that, I think he has the right to say whatever he wants to say.
But the argument is not whether he has the right or not.
Yeah.
The argument, he didn't say, do I have the right?
Yeah.
If his question was, do I have the right? Of course you have the right. So, and I've agreed with you throughout that he does have the right. And ultimately, my advice would be not to allow the child to go until both parents are comfortable.
Yeah.
I think these are decisions where because you never know, life happens, things happen. You don't want anything that accidentally happens. It's like, see, I told you I didn't even want her to go. I told you I wasn't for the idea.
Yeah.
So I would, and also it's, you've got to respect each other, and he is the head of the home. So the wife has to respect that decision if he said no. And from the look of things, it suggests that although I might be wrong, or maybe he's just had, they've just had an argument. He's just said no and they've argued.
Yeah.
And then now he's coming to the platform and saying, have I overreacted? So he's said no. It doesn't suggest that the wife has said, well, I don't care what you say, I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah.
It suggests that she's argued, but maybe she's respected his decision, but he's now contemplating and thinking, oh, maybe was I too harsh, and coming to tell us fully why. So on the grounds of his right and his role, he's right and it's his role. And even if it was the other way around, even if it was a woman, and fair enough, the man does, I think it's not good if, let's say this was switched around, just because he's the head of the home, if she's uncomfortable, I think that, for the peace, like if you're gonna let your child go somewhere, let both of you be comfortable. We know too many things that happen. You both be comfortable than one person is like, no, I don't want the child to go, and then the other one is like, yes. But on the point, my point is saying that I think he needs to check himself. There is a possibility that he is overreacting because he's using his powers and to make a decision based on fear. It's not like he hasn't described a situation where the child is in danger. He has not described a situation where this woman is manipulating the granddaughter. He's described a situation where there is a grandmother who is overly maybe too obsessed with their granddaughter, and is willing to look after them and to have company and to babysit and to help. So it sounds like a loving grandmother, a present grandmother, but I know that can be too much. And sometimes it's okay to say, look, we want to parent, and you create those boundaries. But my point was saying that he also does have to check himself, because he might be saying, as I said earlier, he might be saying no because of fear. He might be saying no and it's free babysitting. He might be saying no, but his wife is swamped. Yeah. And he's not helping at home. So if maybe she's like, I need help, but we don't know. I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a situation where now, how does she? Because sometimes people or men, or women, one of us can make a decision in the relationship or say, I think this, your mother is this or your father is this, but you don't, without consideration of that, how that message needs to be delivered. First of all, you don't always have to be on the same page, but you need to agree on a conclusion, right?
Yeah.
But then I think it's now unfair for him to now say no and then leave her in the dark to now go and deliver the news to her mom and say, oh, my husband said no. That's not going to look good. And I think sometimes it's acting as, I'm not saying because of how it's not going to look, you shouldn't say no. Mm-hmm. I think now that things are heated, you've now left her in a state where, how does she use wisdom, because she's emotional now? Mm-hmm. How does she use wisdom to now explain to her mum that my husband has said no? And sometimes these things, it's easy for you to say no, but you haven't, because you need to have this discussion and say, okay, fine, the final conclusion is no, but how do we now break this news in a way that is loving and does not create tension and problems?
Yeah. But
because he's probably left it for her to now go say, oh yeah, my husband said no.
But yeah, let's say hypothetically, let's say it's us. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't care basically and say, look, if I'm telling you something and saying, look, this is how I want my house to run, based on the authority that I think God has given me, and I'm saying this is what I want to do. And if we're going to invite anybody in, either they follow the way we do things. If they're going to question that, I would rather them not do that. And let's say, for example, even her going to, like, let's say we've got a child and her going to the grandmother's place for the day is something that we had to sit down and discuss. And I'm even saying, okay, I'm not comfortable, but I'm okay for the day. And then he's not now like you're coming to me. It's like you say, okay, for the day. Okay, can she just stay? You're comfortable with your mother. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I may not be.
Yeah.
And I'm basically saying I've given you an opportunity to go this far. Now you're trying to extend it. Why?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're now basically and based on the past history, I'm saying we've had problems with your mom overstepping in our marriage. Mm-hmm. So how am I now going to? Is this also overstepping? I've given you an opportunity and this is overstepping. For him, it may not be. It just may be a symbol of what it means. Like, look, I've given you something, but I feel like you want more. Mm-hmm. And this, it's not even about the principle of her sleeping over or anything like that. The issue is just that it's always this conversation. Whenever I give you something and I've allowed it, I feel like you always want more and you always are asking for more. So who's driving this? Aren't you listening to what I'm saying?
And I think that's where I see like your mind is, not a problem, but your mind is making decisions that are not, because I'm just like, look, because of what we've had in the past, now we have to, there's certain areas where we now have to limit. Like, it's okay to come and ask you and say, can she spend the night? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The same way I don't think there's anything wrong with you saying no.
But why would you get annoyed when I say no? If there's nothing wrong with that, why would you get annoyed if I said no?
Because because I would like my daughter to go. I would like a free night. I would like my child to go and spend a night with my mom. And my mom wants to have some time, and they want to have a sleepover and sleep in a tent in the living room.
But
they want to enjoy themselves.
You're not looking at my point of view.
Yeah, but your point of view is based on the fact that you're saying, oh, but your mom is always trying to come into our relationship and I'm just like, I think you're using something that is, what's the word? It's like you're deep. I can't find the word. Like you are over. Not. I think now and see why you use the word overreacting. It's like you're putting yeast in bread. I can't think of anything. Like you're over. amplifying the situation. That's the word. Like, you're over amplifying the situation. This is not about my mom trying to come into our marriage. This is not about my mom trying to say, oh no, I think she, my mom is now a different religion and I'm a Christian, and my mom is saying no, she should learn.
It's not that, Rote.
Okay.
It's the aspect of where I'm coming to you and I feel like you're considering more of your mom than me.
Yes, that's I agree with you there. Now I agree with you where you're saying that you are now it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yes, I am considering my mom more in this situation because we're trying to pretend that it's us, right?
Yeah.
So I would probably side more with my mom in this situation because I'm just like, let her have some time with her granddaughter. But then I do understand where you're coming from because that's how you feel. It's like, even though this thing is not about manipulation and control, you have decided to use this example as something, and I think that's where I'm struggling because I'm just like, this is just a simple, my mother wants to spend some time with our child and she wants to babysit for us. We could do with a night just the two of us without somebody saying read me a story or waking up because somebody has decided to wake me up on my face or my feet with their feet. Like, I could do with just some quality you and me time for the weekend. And why is it? And my mom, like, she, fair enough, if you were worried about the men around the house that she's with, my mom is by herself. You've seen how she is with our daughter absolutely adores her. They have a good time together. She follows, I've told her that the child, there's no swearing, whatever TV, don't do too much screen time, whatever TV programs you're watching, make sure that they're PG or make sure they're this, like, and she's followed that. But obviously, because I have a close relationship with my mom, and I also feel like you're also not putting yourself in my shoes because we don't know what your family background is, but my family background is that I grew up with my mom, right?
Yeah.
And me and my mom are super close.
Yeah.
And maybe because you are not close or you've never seen that kind of closeness between a daughter, and you're just like, what, this is weird. It's not weird, like,
but it goes back to what I said from the beginning, Rote. I'm not seeing the aspect of you living and cleaving because you
living and cleaving doesn't mean that I can't be close to my mom.
But you also need to understand, okay, when we were getting married, we sat down and we understood what we said. What does living and cleaving mean for us? Living and cleaving means we are starting something together. We know our different roles in this marriage, and those roles need to be respected.
So what does that have to do with and the thing is, I agree with you, but I suppose we would probably need more examples of what the mom has done to be manipulative, and we can see what the challenges can be, especially if I've been really close to my mom. I can see that it's like, these situations where you say live and cleave and you expect the minute you say I do, people have left and cleaved. And it's like, actually, in reality, this is something that you probably have to learn over time. And this is a woman that you're used to talking to about a lot of things. But to be fair, I think I would talk to you anyway about everything. And it wouldn't be the deep stuff I go and consult with my mom. But I think it depends on what that relationship was, like what. But I think sometimes a lot of women talk to their moms every day, and I feel like maybe sometimes you men think like that is so like, oh my gosh, you haven't left and cleaved. And it's like, actually no, we're just talking about the weather, we're just talking about this. So I think we would need a bit more examples
before we
on
go
what
on. I think before people start thinking we're talking about our relationship, we've put ourselves, or we are saying, we are taking the story and we're saying we are those people.
Yeah, we did say
yeah, okay. Some people may
please,
feel,
I'm in.
May feel
no,
like,
I like to get into my roles.
May feel like we're talking about our situation. So let's say, for example, I'm saying we don't know what the situation is of where she felt undermined.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But
that's
we can give an example of just saying like, it may be small or big or whatever, but he feels. Let's say, for example, I'm telling like my wife and saying, okay, we're a believing family. we go to church on a Sunday and we focus ourselves on how we live in our home and everything like that. And then when your mom comes, maybe she may be loose in the aspects of what her beliefs are and everything like that. And then we're saying in this household, this is how we live.
Yeah, so I'll tell her that. I'll tell her that on a Sunday we go to church.
And then for her, she's just like,
on a Sunday.
But Ruta, we never used to live like this. So why are you doing ABCD?
Yeah, but that's
then
different.
You are coming to me and saying,
no, but that's different.
No.
If I'm doing that, that's wrong then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what maybe I feel not.
Let's say I did that as in manipulation. The past. Yeah, that's bad.
Yes.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yes. So now we're saying when the child comes, the problem here is about the way we raise our children.
No, that's not, babe.
No. Let me say it.
That's not the argument now.
No, I'm saying it may be the argument.
No, because he said he just doesn't want her to go for a sleepover.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But he's worried because of that example that you've just given. Pretended.
So like, let's say we're now pretending and saying it's about raising our children. I'm saying if I'm raising my child and saying we don't agree with our children, let's say we don't agree. I personally believe my child should not sleep outside the house unless she is unless she's of age and 18 or whatever. Even with play dates and everything like that, I don't want her to. If she has to go for the day and everything. This is my policy.
I think that's also different.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think that these are policies that we also need to be discussing in a marriage. You don't just come up because my mom has said, "Oh, my child." What happens when your mom wants the child to go? Does this policy seem to also appear to only follow one side or my family? What about your family when your mom wants the children?
Yeah.
So I think that if that's a policy that we're going to have, then let them know from the beginning. I don't think first. Let's say that's the policy, and the grandmother keeps asking. Then it's up to me to be firm and just to say, Mum, this is what we've agreed. Like Tamelo and I have said, we don't want our children to be sleeping over anywhere, and it doesn't matter what because we don't even. I suppose if you want to give reasons, you can, but I think in this example, this is why I'm so on the opposite, because I feel like he's given us enough reasons for why he doesn't want to. It's not like they've sat down, you and I have sat down and we've said, as per policy, this is a policy in our house, no sleepovers until you're 18 years old. And then, and that's possible. You could say that's what you want for our children, right? And then I could be like, no, I don't agree. But ultimately, we have to decide what is going to be the rule.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, you and I will make rules that one of us probably does not agree and is completely on the other end, but the kids don't even know that mum actually does not agree. Did you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But the rule is there's no, like if they come to me, it's just like, you know the rule. The rule is that there's no sleepover.
Yeah, but
they don't need to know that actually I don't agree with that rule.
Yeah,
but that's different.
But I can also make a rule. I think you also now, you're not understanding. I can make a rule. I agree it's wrong on my side, but I can make a rule of just basically saying, I understand the way I'm seeing something maybe you are too close to that you're not seeing.
What you as in it's
like
fine.
Let's say for example, I feel like
asking if you're overreacting.
No, yeah, but I'm thinking.
So we think you're overreacting.
No, but I may be thinking you're overreacting.
But we haven't said that your decision cannot go through.
I may be overreacting, but my overreacting also comes with an aspect of evidence, and the evidence is, I think my wife and her mother are too close to the point of where the closeness in my wife and my mother comes as a way of undermining my authority. If I allow this with my child, I feel that this can also be a situation. I've already allowed her to go and spend some time with her. What's so important about? You may be saying, what's so important with her just not staying there? I'm also saying, why is it not important? I've given her.
So what do you want me to tell my mother?
That's another question that we have to have, because I think maybe you women will not understand is like sometimes some men will make some decisions just to prove a point.
And sometimes you just use your authority to manipulate.
I agree, which is wrong. But again, I think also on those situations, you women, as the women who are called to submit, sometimes your submission can actually even soften a man's decision. But when you're now reacting and whatever, the man will just be, I don't want, this is what I'm going to do. And you may cry and do A, B, C, D, and he's just trying to stamp his authority. And regardless, it might be wrong or anything like that. I agree. But him trying to stamp his authority and saying, this is what I have to do for me to gain that, I agree it's wrong. But I agree sometimes out of just pride, it may come out. And I think sometimes just to soften someone's heart is just to say, okay, you know what? She goes whatever. In fact, just explain, okay, Mom, yeah, I agree you want her to sleep over, but yeah, her dad always does something. Yeah, try to make up something.
Don't.
You're the one who probably even makes things even worse. Because you're going to start telling, he said he doesn't want her to come to sleep over.
No. Mm-hmm. You're going back on your word, because we had this conversation like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I told you, the thing is, sometimes you guys make decisions, or you men might make decisions that you know are wrong, or maybe you've made a decision out of pride, but then you know that this is a tough decision that we need to really sit down and make a decision, and not only do we need to make a decision, but we also need to decide how we're going to disseminate that decision.
Okay.
But I said that to you, and what did you say 10 minutes before? You're going to listen to this. You're just like, I don't care what you tell her. And I'm just like, that's the problem.
Okay, but
you also can't be making decisions.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay to make decisions, but come on, like, let's talk about the peace in the home. Like, it's not just about the saying I have the authority and I have the final say.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. But it's about working in unity, working together, and it's about using wisdom. Like, it's not wise for me to now go to my mom and start saying, but I'm not gonna lie either. Like, and say, oh yeah, I asked him and he said, Rashi, whatever, said no. Like, he just said no. Can you imagine this man? He doesn't even do anything in this house. Doesn't even help me with the kids. Doesn't even do, like, that's not good. Yeah. But at the same time, but if you've angered me, there's a chance that I'm probably gonna go and let it out like that and just be like, you know what? He just said no. He doesn't even do anything in this house. So all he does is sit down and not. Look.
And
the child wants
to. Because you and her close, you obviously be saying all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say.
But sometimes
I said no, and I think I'll be happy in my no. But
of course you're happy in your no.
I agree with that. But I'm saying, like, on the other side, let's say, for example, would you be more happy if I went and told your mom in a disrespectful way and say,
but why
no?
would you? But why would you be disrespectful? Why would you?
Okay,
you've even said it.
Okay, what if my no is? I'm just saying no, but my no comes out disrespectful.
But this is why you have to be wise. This is why, like, if look, we're not dealing with children. These marriage things are big people things. Like, you need to, even how you talk to your in-laws, like, don't create tension. Because let's say my mom just says, you know what, I really genuinely wanted to have a relationship with my granddaughter, but the dad is, okay, I'm just gonna take a step back. You're creating problems for there's nothing wrong with the child or the children having relationship with their granddaughters. So even you as a man of the home, how you disseminate the information and how you speak to people about what it is that you want is equally important. It doesn't mean you need to change your decision just because somebody might not like your decision, but it also means you need to be wise enough to know how to disseminate that information. There are things that it might be to your parents, it might be to my parents, it might be to our friends, it might be to our relatives, whatever it is, you need to be wise. So if you know that you're going to go to her and you're just going to call her and say, Mom, I said no. You don't need to ask me. I'm the man of the house. I said no. Like, do you think that kind of attitude is godly? Just calling somebody and just being rude? Like, why you don't need to be rude. You can tell the truth, and you don't need to lie either, because that's, again, you're just doing wrong things. But you can speak to them in a grown-up way and respectful way, but there is still a good chance that they're not going to take it well.
Okay, let me say, but I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But there's sometimes where you're like, no, even go properly, because then I think sometimes maybe you like, let's say a parent, like you go and say it in a nice way, and they're like, no, but why? And they're like, like they will come like, why? It's okay, blah 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 blah. But you're just like, but didn't I say no at the beginning?
I know. But this is how you will learn how to deal with them. It's hard. I know what you're saying exactly.
I agree with that.
I know. I agree with you. Like I know exactly what you're saying.
It just comes out and just I've just said no, okay. And then now it's like they're pushing so much to the point of where like, do I get it? Now starts going into your mind. Am I respected? Is in my no? And what? And I think sometimes out of harshness, you become harsh as a way of trying to get respect. I know it's not the right way to do it, but indirectly it comes out. And I think that's why sometimes like we have to go back to the aspect of what is living and cleaving. And I think the living and cleaving is not only supposed to be understood by the two people who are living and cleaving, but also the other ones who are external out there, to fully understand how do we embrace that and how do we live in a manner that will be respectful towards this new unit that has come together. And I think also understanding each other's backgrounds. But I think on this situation, there'll always be trial and error, because you won't be always perfect on this situation, because it will always come out like you have to, sometimes you have to step on each other's toes to get the balance.
You learn over time how to, and sometimes you can just ignore them, and that's a way of you saying no. Sometimes I think you just have to study them, because it's true what you're saying. Some parents can be very persuasive, and then they'll start trying to manipulate you, like emotional blackmail. So, but your parent, you could have had a sleepover with us, or your parents said no. I'm all alone tonight because you wouldn't let I don't know, Junior or whatever's name sleep at our house. And I was like, come on, like, and I get you. I think it's tough, but this is why my big thing is doing it together.
Yeah, but I think the problem here,
fighting each other, even though sometimes it's hard when it's your family being let's say in this scenario, it'd be harder for me, because I'm just like, it's my family being rejected, feeling like my family is being rejected. I think the key thing is to try and work together for the good of our daughter and for the good of the family unity, because I still want my mom to be present, and I still want my mom to be part of my daughter's life.
I think the challenge is because they've had a history, and the history has brought a level of some bad blood in the relationship between authority in the home. And I think that is a situation that I think maybe the man is not over, and he's over projecting. And that's why I'll say there he is wrong. And I think he's not also looking at the benefits of basically saying there was something that happened, or she's now calmed down. He's not looking at the aspect of she's calmed down. And he's now saying, I think he's maybe thinking, is the calming down just because we addressed it and I always have to address it? Or is he saying, oh, okay, I can see where she's improved, and because she's improved, I can be able to let her go. This is one of the things that I think through that you're always learning each other, and as you are learning each other, there'll always be ways of how you navigate this. So I think there's no right answer to this,
but wisdom, exercising wisdom.
Yeah, there's no right answer here to say he's overreacting or he's not over, because I can see a level of where
I still think he's overreacting.
No, but I can see on one side of where,
but I'm not saying he's wrong.
Yeah, I can see where like there is a level of where he can be overreacting, but I can also see a level of where he is also being extra cautious.
Yeah.
And there's a middle ground between those situations. And I think, as you're saying, there has to be a level of wisdom and also discussion, because I don't think it's a yes or no situation. And I think you always have to come to a position of where you two need to sit down, first understand how the past situation has affected the present, and how he may be overcautious, and maybe I think maybe she needs to also give him reassurances and saying, I've changed and I won't let my mother manipulate me in the past situation of what happened, and give them reassurances so that they can be able to move forward. As well as also he also needs to see the progress that's happening and not over project in the situation and saying, oh no, this is the way it's going to be in all those situations.
Yeah.
But ideally, it's always about wisdom. And I think in the situation when you're dealing with people, you also have to get an opportunity to understand that you will make mistakes, and you always, with mistakes, there's always opportunity for you guys to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness and also repent, and also now move forward and saying, opportunity to be gracious towards each other as you're trying to navigate situations. And that's just life, because there's always going to be a complex aspect of in-laws and in-laws relationships, marriage relationships. There'll always be a complex in those situations.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
true.
won't always be smooth going.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah, anything you want to add?
No, we've battled it out.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening to this episode. We are truly encouraged by your support, and if you have any suggestions on this topic, please put it in the comments, and I would like to hear more about what you think about this scenario. And as we say, we try to be as biblical as possible. Sometimes we just go off the rails and we get a bit emotional, but we'll try our best to be as biblical in our discussions. Anything you want to add?
No, thank you, babe. That's good.
So yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, and
share.
And yeah, until next time, take care and God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.